Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
Oh, you all are really excited about the year 2012. I'm going to have to work hard this morning. All right, well, I'm looking at my sermon, I'm looking at the clock, and I'm thinking, I have enough time to do the whole thing. Wow, that's pretty cool. All right, well, I have a question for you. How many of you have heard of New Year's resolutions? Any of you ever hear of them? How many in this room have at one time or another made one or more? How many of you in this room might have made the following New Year's resolutions? I'm going to lose
weight.
Thank you. I'm going to pray
More.
I'm going to do more good things. Going to stand on my head differently, whatever you want to call it. How many of you have always been able to keep your resolutions no matter what? How many of you have sometimes just given up making New Year's resolutions because you knew that by January 4th, it's done?
Yeah.
I mean, who wants to be a failure in 4 days? Right? So what do you do with a new year? A brand new year? What do you do with it? Well, I think there are some really cool things we can do with a brand new year. How many of you would like to know something you can do with a brand new year? Anybody? Okay, cool. So I'm going to tell you some things. The first thing I want you to learn to do today is to realize that this is a brand new year. When you woke up this morning, or when you went to bed this morning, whichever it was, it was new. It hadn't been marred in any way. No mistakes had been made yet. Did y'all realize that? It was a brand new year. We haven't goofed it up yet. And I'm going to suggest that we haven't quite goofed it up yet. I mean, it's all of 11:05, 11:07. We've only had 11 hours, so what could we have really done to this brand new year? Right? So the first thing I want you to do today is to come to the conclusion that since it's a brand new year, we're going to leave last year. We're going to leave it behind. Now, that seems so simple, doesn't it? But some of you are doing, well, I kind of liked this from last year. I'm going to keep this piece. Or, you know, I've worked really hard at being guilty. I think I'm going to stay guilty just a little longer. Now, some of you laughed at that, but my guess is maybe if you were laughing at that, I was describing. I know that sometimes it's easy to hold on to things from our past, especially, and why is it so much easier to hold on to the bad things? How many of us have ever held on to resentment? Some of you are lying. Or you were just tired of raising your hand. You see, one of the things that I think we need to leave behind coming into 2012 is all of the resentment that we built up in 2011. Now, some of you deal with resentment really easily. You just let it go. But most of us aren't quite that talented. Most of us want to go and say things like, well, you know, so-and-so really did do some bad things to me. And I'm going to remember. And I'm going to hold on. And I'm going... Now, none of you in this room would say it. But in your mind, you're thinking, and I'm gonna get them. The only problem with that it sits right here, and it presses, and it presses, and it presses, and it keeps us from going forward. It pushes us backwards, farther and farther. And we keep remembering how awful that person or thing was that happened to us. And we resent it. Instead of letting it go. Instead of perhaps offering forgiveness for when someone does something to wrong us. You know, the idea of leaving this old year of 2011 behind is really an important one. We continue, I think, to struggle more and more with our lives because we hold on. You know, some of you are holding on to resentments from the year 1992. And in 1993, we picked up some more. In 94, we picked up some more. In 95, we picked up some more. 96 was a good year. You picked up some more in 97. And that weight of all that resentment just keeps pushing us down, pushing us down, pushing us down, pushing us down. And we get angry. We get depressed, and we get miserable. Any of you know anybody that's just really miserable? I'm guessing they're miserable because they've held on like this. Y'all remember this exercise we did once? I want you to take your hand and put it out there and hold on to something. Hold on to it tight. Then turn to your neighbor and say, go ahead, I dare you, open that fist. I can hold on to this resentment forever, and there's nothing you can do about it. Now, with your arm, with your hand still closed, run your hand up and down your forearm. Feel how tight that is? And I want you to know that the longer you hold that, the farther up your arm, your tightness is going to grow, and it's going to come across your shoulders, and it's going to get in your neck, and it's going to go down your spine, and pretty soon you're going to be miserable. You need to let go of 2011. We need to let go of some resentment. We need to let go of some anger. We need to let go of, worry. Any of you ever worried about anything? You need to let go of that worry, because that worry, it sends shockwaves up that arm. And some of you are already saying, well, but if I don't worry about it, who will? That's the point. We need to leave these worries behind. We need to leave these resentments behind. We need to leave one other thing behind too, and that's our failures. How many of you succeed every time you wake up? It's a joke. If you wake up, you've succeeded. Mike knew that in the back row. He got it. Now, do we succeed at everything? No. It's not the way life is. People get in the way. Things happen. Circumstances change. We learn new things. It's very interesting. My wife and I have been doing some learning. And one of the things that we learned is that I was probably dropped on my head. And you all were laughing at that.
It was.
He was? We need to talk. Not only in the process that I've been going through to do some learning, not only have I learned that I was probably dropped on my head, but I've probably had struggles learning things because of it. Now, I never knew that. I never knew that. When I was a kid, I had had rheumatic fever. Some of you are old enough in this room to know and understand and remember when people had rheumatic fever as a rule. Part of having rheumatic fever is having a long-term fever. Well, one of the things I've learned is that that's a little bit like being dropped on your head. Because it causes things in your brain not to work the way it ought to work. Why is that important? It's important because that explains some of the struggles that I've had. It explains why sometimes I might not have been as successful as I've been. And I'm not complaining, just so you know. I've been pretty successful. I have a master's degree. I have a great GPA. Okay, a good GPA. I can learn. I do learn. But I haven't always been successful. So I need to leave my failures behind, and you need to leave your failures behind and not live there. Because one of the problems with failures is we go, oh, I failed again. And why is it we always say it that way? I failed again. I think as Thomas Edison says, I didn't fail 10,000 times. I just found 10,000 ways that a light bulb doesn't work. Just think what would have happened if you'd only tried 9,997 times. You'd still be living in the dark. So we need to live life leaving last year behind. And if we can do that, we're halfway home. And that brings us to how we should live in 2012. How many would like to know how to live in 2012? I have a really good acronym. And it's short. There's only 3 letters. In 2012, I want us not only to leave 2011 behind, but I want us to live fat. I want us to live fat in 2012. Anybody excited about that? Some of you aren't telling the truth. Can't wait. You see, because living fat means living full. Living fat means living life the way God has called us to live. Now that doesn't mean that we're going to eat at the Cheesecake Factory every day. Oh, we should. Me and Christy. So what does it mean to live fat? Well, the first thing it means to live fat, it means to live faithfully. You should write that down probably. Live faithfully. And ask yourself this question: how faithful are you to Jesus? How faithful are we to God? Are we faithful when it's convenient? Or even when it's not? I'll tell you the truth, I'm a little surprised this morning. I'm pleasantly surprised to look around the room. There are actually people here on Sunday morning. It's January 1st, and some of you were up very late last night. And you're here. It would have been much easier to sleep in. It would have been much easier to go, oh, I think I'll stay home today. They won't miss me. Or everybody else is staying home today. It'll just be the preacher and his wife. It'll be okay. Are we faithful with our time and our talent? Are we faithful with our resources? Are we faithful in our ministry? Are we faithful in our lives? You see, being faithful is about following Jesus. It's about focusing on Him and doing things for His glory, even when it's inconvenient or hard for us to do so. So living fat means living faithful. But it also means living life available. Faithful and available. How available are you? Some of you go, I've been married for 45 years to this person. I am not available. Well, I'm not really talking about that. I'm talking about how available are you to God? Do you go to church when it's convenient or just when you are tired? Are you available to teach a Sunday school class or to lead a Bible study or to be in the choir or to be an elder or a deacon or a greeter? Are you available to serve in some way to change people's lives? Do you reach out to others only if you know them, or do you reach out to people you don't know? Do you participate in fellowship opportunities or Bible studies regularly, or only when it's fun or convenient? You see, being available opens doors. Being available helps us to understand the dynamics of life. How many of us know people who have needs? Well, of course, we all know people who have needs. Did you help meet them? I think that's a great question, an important question. I think about our ministry out at Allendale. I think about leading worship for 35 kids who showed up for the Christmas worship, for our 14 kids in our shelter. And I think about opportunities to touch lives and to help people grow. I think about our nephew Christopher, and I think about your families, and we think, you know, how do we help? How do we, or do we just let it go? Sometimes we let it go simply because we don't know what else to do. But are we available? So living fat means living faithfully. It means living availably, being available. The third thing that I really believe living fat means is being teachable. How teachable are you? How many of you have ever uttered these famous last words? You can't teach an old dog new tricks. And how many of you have said that about you? See, that's the problem. It's one of the reasons I strive to learn new and different things. How teachable are you? Are you willing to listen to me or to some other person tell you, quite frankly, what you should be doing for Jesus? It's a problem because most of us don't want anybody to tell us what to do. Me included. Most of us, I think, when it comes to knowing how teachable we are, sometimes do retreat back into that old dog, new trick syndrome. How teachable are you? Are we willing to study and learn and change by application how we live our lives? You see, New Year's Day, today, is a great gift. It's a great opportunity. We have the chance and opportunity to change lives, beginning with our own. the chance and opportunity to become new because of a baby born a week ago and a calendar that changes with all new clean dates on it. We can choose to take things from 2011. We can choose to hold on to the resentments and to the anger and to the worries that filled our lives. We can choose to hold on to the past because it's what we know, and even though it's killing us, we hold on to it because it's safe. Or we can let it go. We can let it go so that we can be fat. We can let it go so we can be faithful. We can let it go. Because see, I don't think you can hold on to it and be faithful. We can hold on to it or be available. Did you ever notice that miserable people are no fun to be around? And they aren't very good at ministry. Because nobody outside the church wants to be with them either. We can hold on or let go and be faithful. We can hold on or let go and be available. Or we can hold on and be teachable. Or be teachable. You can choose today to live life back. And it will be the only time your doctor will agree with me. Because when we live fat, when we live faithful and available and teachable lives, we're made new, we're restored, and reconciliation can happen. And that's the kind of year I want to have in 2012. We're going to sing our hymn of invitation. If you need to make a decision for